Welcome, everyone, to another episode of What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. What's Working is the show designed to help you understand the trends that are shaping the workplace, the workforce, and the marketplace around you. My goal is to find the people that can teach us small, simple things about the trends shaping their business that will help us do some things just a little bit better in our business. And today our guest is a guy that has a topic that, and I don't think he's going to describe it this way when I get him on the air in a little bit, but it's sexy. It's a sexy topic. And the work that he's done to give him the expertise that allows him to lead this conversation that he and I are going to have is definitely not sexy. But I can promise you this, when they begin to talk about what it is that they do, people lean in, particularly the men. The women too, but particularly the men. Back in the day, and I talk like it was back in, 10 years ago, but I'm talking 18 months ago, when I was on the road delivering content at conferences and stuff like that, I could do a pretty good delivery of a workshop or a seminar or a keynote presentation. And I knew my content would be helpful, but I always knew if there was a Navy SEAL on the agenda, they were going to show up for that guy. And that's who I have for you today. It's a Navy SEAL. Now, why are these guys always so appealing? First, they're an extraordinarily elite group of people. I feel like it's less than 10% or something like that, and we'll clarify after the break and I get him on the line, but less than 10% that begin the training actually make it through and become a Navy SEAL. And I didn't know this, but there's even a division within the SEALs that is more elite than the rest that people have to qualify even further for. So the SEALs are sent in to make way for the Marines. It's crazy. You send a handful of guys, a small team of guys, to make way for the rest of the Army to come in behind you. They're the top of the line. They're the top of their training. They get the best equipment. They get the best reconnaissance. And they're just, a remarkable group of people who are trained to do some extraordinary things. When they're finished with their commitment in the SEALs, when they're retired, they carry with them some lessons that apply particularly to business. The purpose of planning, the purpose of understanding your teammate and get along with your teammate, the purpose of understanding the mission. And these are all types of things that really gravitate to business owners and business leaders who can see a direct application of these types of things. Heck, it makes sense. The guy that we're going to get on the phone here in a moment, though, has done something a little bit different. It's no longer business coaching, or it includes more than business coaching. It's interpersonal coaching. It's making you the best that you can be and using this type of the SEAL mentality, this Navy SEAL training, to be the conduit for individual leadership or individual mastery. I met this guy. His name is Thom Shea. I met him in an event not long ago, and he gave an extraordinarily compelling presentation about the SEALs and what he learned and a little bit of the insight into his coaching. And it just whet my appetite at this event. There's more. There's got to be more. And heck, I know there's more. When he finished his session at this event that I was at, people were still in their seats wanting him to continue on. And I've asked him if he would consider to be on the radio show and let him teach us a little bit about the coaching that he does, how his background in the SEALs has led to this interpersonal executive coaching and what it brings out of people. That's my biggest question. What does it bring out of people that his unique SEAL background, Navy SEAL background, facilitates? And that's what we're going to talk about. Enough of the preamble. Enough of the let's talk about what we're about to talk about, and let's begin talking about it. Thom Shea will be on the phone with me when we come back from break, and we'll talk about how he's changing the lives of people in his coaching programs and what the SEAL team has done for him in that regard. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. We'll be back right after this break.
Cool thing happened back in '64. That's when Keith Air Conditioning opened their doors.
In my family, turn to the experts is more than a tagline. It's a promise. Every Keith technician is an experienced AC professional, and that saves you money. Speaking of money, how about 0% financing for up to 60 months on installations of new Carrier systems? Keith and Carrier, turn to the experts.
Mobile's leading name in comfort since 1964.
License number 83731.
I'm Matt Armbruster with Ransom Ministries. We help people in our community that most others have given up on. Please donate your unwanted electronics to Ransom Recycling. We teach life skills, job readiness, and job creation through our electronic recycling program. We take anything with a cord. Find us at ransomministries.com, or you can call us at 251-751-0044.
Think about how people really see you. The kid at the drive-thru just sees a coffee drinker.
Please pull forward.
Your local barista sees the person who loves a smiley face in their latte.
See you next time.
It's kind of the same way with insurance. Other insurance companies just see a customer, but a State Farm agent sees more. They see you as a neighbor. Your State Farm agent is here to get to know who you really are, so they can help life go right.
Call me, State Farm agent Allison Horner, and Mobile at 666-1616.
We're back. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston, and on the line with me is a hero to many of us. Thom Shea is a retired Navy SEAL, served in the U.S. Navy for 23 years with distinguished valor before writing his best-selling book, Unbreakable, A Navy SEAL's Way of Life. His latest release is called 3 Simple Things, Leading During Chaos. And Thom, I'm going to pick up more of your bio as we go along in the show. Thank you so much for your time. Welcome to What's Working.
Well, thanks, Cam, and lovely meeting you and your wife this past week, and truly an honor.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. We felt the same about you. We talked, my wife and I talked. She sat through your presentation, and rarely does she sit through so many as what you and I saw last week, but she sat through yours, and she and I discussed yours on the beach, and you really made an impression on the two of us, and I know that audience there as well. I mean, anytime you can get a Navy SEAL to tell his story about how he became a Navy SEAL and what the training was like, and then some of the insights into the deployments you have is really captivating stuff. And then you find someone who comes out and retires and comes out and then is able to help the general population. It's really a remarkable tale that you have. Tell me how the SEALs set you up for what you're doing today.
Well, the one thing that, I don't think everybody understands this about the SEALs is we're not even though we have technology and we have guns, the whole aspect of being a SEAL is like the human side of it. What is the human capable of doing? And so what I did for 23 years is really understand and do myself the human equation. Like, what are you capable of doing physically, and how well can you operate with other people, and can you lead and can you follow all within the same breath? And so that, I think, was the greatest, advantage of being a SEAL, that I was able to parlay into, how to help people in the business space operate efficiently, because people are always part of the equation.
So one of the things you just said there, and I'm already off track on my interview kind of outline here, is what are you capable of? And I've heard 2 different points of view on that, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. I think one of the best and worst questions anyone can ask themselves is, what are you capable of? Because it creates an interior drive that is relentless and can just drive you into the ground. It can also make you very good, but you just don't seem to know when to stop. So the question of what are you capable of is a question that I've asked myself for years, and I've decided to try to subdue that question. What are your thoughts about that?
Oh, wow, that's a big answer. And do we have 7 hours?
we need to.
So humans are capable of greatness, and we don't ever stretch ourselves very much in the world, because everything is somewhat comfortable, unless you live in Central Africa and you live day to day where things aren't comfortable. And what I've noticed in the SEAL teams is I thought I was capable physically before I went there, and I realized there's 8 other levels that other people in the world are already, existing on and playing on. So I got the first sense of the capable conversation physically by being with men that were at a whole different level daily. And then, then I just bracket off into their various aspects of life, or what are we capable of doing in the business space? Some people don't question it. Some people just go to work. So they don't encourage themselves to look at what are we capable of doing? What is this company capable of doing? And I just think it's a great conversation to have. I just know mathematically we operate at about 20% in all spaces of what we're capable of doing.
What is the percentage? And you said this in your presentation last week, I forget. What is the percentage of those that raise their hand to enter into the SEALs training that actually make it all the way through?
Oh, wow. So the only percentage that I know are the ones that actually show up to training. The exiting stage left happens early on. Very few people in the United States can even qualify for the military. A lot of people don't even know that. 20% of everybody living in the United States qualifies.
Yeah.
Because it's a weird dynamic. You have to have perfect eyesight and all these other shenanigans. So once you show up to training, there's only 15% that originally show up that make it on the first try. So, yeah, go ahead.
There are lots of people that try repeatedly. And didn't you say that was part of your story?
Yeah, my story's the worst. I have a disease called I don't give up, which could be great and could be detrimental. I'm the only one who has been allowed to try it 5 times.
5?
Usually they only give you 2, but I wouldn't quit. And so I was in what they call Hell Week 5 separate times. And I finally made it to my 5th try.
Give me an example of something that you didn't think you were capable of doing that you got through in any part of this SEAL training process.
Ask that again.
What you said, what are you capable of? And it's a question that we all ask ourselves. Did you ever confront something in the process of becoming a SEAL in any sort of this arduous training that you just thought, I'm not so sure I can do that? And suddenly with effort and perhaps breaking it down granularly, you made it through and surprised yourself.
Yeah, how you feel regarding capability is probably not the greatest metric. I never felt like I was going to make it. So I never felt that I was operating at my utmost. So it's a weird dynamic to think about what you're capable of doing and how your perceptiveness of that capability is usually 180 degrees out. But what I noticed is I stopped interacting with what my brain thought was possible. And I just stayed there as long as I possibly could. Like I didn't evaluate how rough something was or how I felt or how my feet felt or how much bad chafing I had or how little sleep that I had. I just started interacting with the nuances of the next 5 inches. How can I move to the corner? How can I move the next 2 minutes? And so that part of being capable is, it's a fun discussion to put into capable. I just think you have to move. You have to not give up. And that creates a level that most people never get to.
Didn't you train other SEALs at some point as well?
I went back as an instructor from 2001 when the war kicked off to 2004. And 400 students put through.
400 students. And you must have looked at some of them at some point and thought to yourself, this young man is capable of this. He doesn't think he is, but he's capable of it. And the nature of the SEALs, as I understand it, is you're not going to whisper in this young man's ear and say, you're capable of this if you just push harder. It's an internal drive that makes these people do that. But you must have been a little bit disappointed as you see some people come through the training and not make it, but you knew they were capable.
what you get an in brief as an instructor, and they tell you on day one, don't try to evaluate if somebody's going to make it through or not. Don't use your sight or your perceptions to look at a kid and say he's capable of making it or he's going to make it. And what they let you understand as a leader or as an instructor, it's called, is you just deliver the program to them and let them evaluate themselves. If they want to stay, they'll stay. If they don't, they'll quit. And what that allowed me to do as a leader, both in business and in life, is I don't predetermine what somebody is capable of doing. I just encourage them and then let them decide and let them create their own path. And it was a great learning lesson in the SEAL teams to learn that.
Yeah. Tell me the transition, Thom, from the SEALs to being a business consultant, to a leadership training type of guy. How did that arrive? Where did you see the first inkling that there's an opportunity post-SEALs life where I can continue to influence the lives of people around me?
Man, you ask the best questions, and I've been on so many interviews. You ask them so succinctly that it makes it easy to answer. I had a man that approached me that had read my first book called Unbreakable, and he said, I want to learn from your experiences. Can you teach me? And I'd love to, but it's hard. It's hard to learn tough experiences about yourself and about how to lead and how to follow and how to, what I call honoring your word, the condition called honoring your word. I said, I'd love to teach you, but it's going to take a year. And he goes, I'm in. Let's do it.
A year?
And yep.
Most people can't give you 3 days off their calendar. And this guy committed to being a part of your process for a year.
Yeah, I make him commit to a year. Like nothing can be done overnight. Like the hack world that exists, it's not possible to do great things overnight. It takes time. Like your body requires time to adjust. And to date, Stacy and I have trained 400, maybe 15 people in that year-long process. And it's legit.
I know it's legit. I saw the small portion that you delivered at the conference last week. I saw that it's legit, and I saw the way people were moved by your words, and I saw the way they crowded around you after you finished your presentation, and I saw them gathered around the table. It's legit. The Kool-Aid you're serving is some powerful stuff. And when we get back from break, what I want to talk to you about is what do you see? Now, my listener is typically, not always, but typically a business manager, leader, decision maker. What do you see in these people when you meet them, 415 of them now, that they want from you? What is the question that they want you to answer for them? And when we get back from break, we'll pick it up there. And I can't wait. I'm on pins and needles myself. I got on the line with me, folks, a rare honor. Thom Shea is a retired Naval SEAL. He's teaching some remarkable things to business leaders across the country. I had the great fortune to meeting him last week, and he has given me the great honor of interviewing him today. When we come back from break, we'll pick it up from there. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. Hey, this is Cam Marston. It's this time of year that lots of companies go through their strategic planning process. I'm a fan of a strategic planning model pioneered by Silicon Valley companies called Zoom Out, Zoom In. And one of the key steps in this process is to evaluate your marketplace and determine what the natural headwinds are that might prevent you from getting to your goals in 10 years. 10 years is key. Then list those headwinds. Then list the tailwinds that will naturally push you towards your goals over the next 10 years. Finally, list 2 or 3 things that you can start in the next 4 weeks that will help you deal with the headwinds and maximize the tailwinds. And do these things that you list. Get started on them. This starts you on a trajectory to meet your 10-year goals. Want more help with your strategic planning? Find me online and give me a call. Retired Navy SEAL Thom Shea has written 2 books. The first, Unbreakable, A Navy SEAL's Way of Life, and his latest release is 3 Simple Things, Leading During Chaos, which I think, Tom, is just about a year old. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's been out close to a year.
Yeah, good. Tom developed his leadership process and methods during his military career, where he served in 3 wars, ultimately leading a team of SEALs into Afghanistan in 2009. He's earned a Silver Star, a Bronze Star with Valor, Army Commendation with Valor, and his 2nd Combat Action Medal. This dude is the real deal. I consider myself pretty cool because I can make it through a boot camp 3 times a week. This guy is the real deal. Tom, prior to the break, we were talking about your 415 graduates through your leadership training skills course. What is it? What is the question that they're wanting you to answer for them? Perhaps it's about themselves. Tell me what's on the frame of mind of these people as they come through your course.
I'm interested in people that have already succeeded at something in life. And I don't say that vaguely. To go through an arduous course that we have, you kind of have to have some background of success. So they've already succeeded at one aspect of life, but they feel flat and they want more than just more money. Because they've already attained that, or they have gotten stuck in now that life has happened and the kids are growing. I don't know how to get off the X anymore. I feel flat. So people that feel that way, that have already succeeded, that they want more out of life than just what has happened. And what I see in them is the desire for what more can happen in my life.
Tom, isn't it people like this that ask that question? Isn't what you've described a midlife crisis? Aren't they about to get a Corvette, a convertible Corvette, and find a spouse that's 25 years younger than them? Are you leading people out of a midlife crisis?
I don't say out of it. It's just understand the dynamic of what happens between 35 and 50. Life is altered, and I now have capacity and capability, and I could either stay stuck or I could create. And that is a great thing to teach people, because we all pass through that 35, 50 timeline, and some of us get hammered by it, and some of us actually grow with it.
I'm really intrigued now. So it takes a year. You can get stuck by it or you can create. What are the steps that you put people through in a year that leads them to create?
So the first step is a foundational step, and that step is to learn how humans are designed to actually operate in the space of being human. And there's not a lot of curriculum or leadership training talking about how you as a human are actually designed. There's leadership curriculum, which is a higher level, and then there's other types of curriculum. So I found that you have to create a foundation, and that foundation is learning these 2 concepts, and it takes about 8 hours to learn them, and then a month to apply them. It is learning viscerally how honoring your word is the foundation of human life. How I say that the same way: honor your word, that you are what comes out of your mouth and what you think about. Until you learn that, it's very hard to apply anything of value. And then the second foundational principle is don't give up on that. It's like it takes a while to execute on keeping a promise over time. So that's the first foundational principle of being a successful human, is learning how to keep your word and then not giving up on keeping your word. And that takes 6 weeks for most people.
Now, you can't be talking about, in regards to keeping your word, of saying to a buddy, I'll see you at noon on Friday for lunch, and keeping your word for that. It's got to be more in depth than that. Am I right?
Yeah, foundational. So that becomes the critical conversation that people have is, the flippant conversation. So stop being flippant. So honoring your word means that you try to create the situation when you say something that is true for you. People don't do that often. And that's what takes so long in the first day, is to unravel what has happened in the human condition for everybody that they don't live that anymore. So what I found, and that's the only thing that's available in SEAL trainings, you're going to make a promise and keep it, or you're going to quit. And they don't teach you anything until you learn that. And once you learn, I'm going to stay here, I'm going to execute this mission, or I'm going to endure this problem until it's over, until you learn that, there's no reason to teach you anything of value. So in the business space, I just teach the same thing.
Give me an example.
Easy example is I want to show you how to do this. And everybody listening, it's a 21-day assignment. I'm going to keep it simple. And it be valuable. It's not a flippant, commitment. Health is important to everybody, whether you like it or not. It's very important because you have a body. So let's learn how to treat it well. So every morning and right after you get out of bed and right before you go to bed for 21 days, learn how to honor your word by doing these 3 exercises. Do 10 push-ups, 10 sit-ups, and 10 squats for 21 days. You can't hack it. You got to do it right after you go to bed, or right before you go to bed, and right after you wake up. You can't move it till noon. You can't adjust it. It has to be at those critical times. And nobody can do it in 21 days without adjusting it. I've not seen it happen. There's only 18% of the people that have tried it that can do that for 21 days. That exposes the fact that we don't honor what we say, but what we honor instead, or we give credence to, are all the reasons not to do it. So humans have twisted honoring your word to honoring every reason not to. I'm too tired. I was drunk. My wife doesn't want me to disturb her. My knee hurts. I'm too old. This is stupid. All those things that we give credence to destroy human beings. So I make sure everybody goes through this. It's a little more extended and other things are added to it. But until you can prove to yourself that you can make a promise and keep it for 21 days, I can't teach you anything of value.
Goodness. Now, there are plenty of people, and I'm raising my hand, who would say, yeah, but Thom, I exercise. I try to eat right. I exercise at noon every day. You want me to do it in the morning and in the evening, and I exercise at noon every day. My workouts burn 850 calories. That's pretty good for a guy my size. And can I swap out your 3 exercises in the morning and in the evening for my noon exercise 3 days a week? You say, no, you're coming to me for my help, and my help includes your commitment to these exercises twice a day for 21 days.
Maybe we could use the word differently. It's not an exercise. Like, you don't get any physical improvement by doing 10 push-ups, 10 sit-ups, and 10 squats, even though it would be 20. There's no advantage physically, and it's not even called a workout. The experiment is to see if you can do something that has value to you for 21 days straight without breaking it.
I see. Yeah.
It could be anything. So it could be anything. Say hi to your wife every morning. Have her say hi to you and kiss her every morning. You know how many people could do that? 0. 0. The first excuse is, well, I travel. I don't want to wake her up.
Yeah.
That's the relationship you have. They immediately start talking themselves out. It's not possible. I can't do it. So that becomes the world that most people live in, is I already have talked myself out of what's possible. So you got to create the small leveraged advantage of honoring your word over time. And then when you see what's really in the way, it's not the exercise, it's you. And then when people get that experience, you're like, oh, wow, I could do X, Y, and Z. Yeah, you can.
Then the horizon becomes huge. It becomes glorious.
Yeah.
Once they've proven to themselves that they're not reliant upon excuses, then suddenly they begin to see a new potential for themselves.
Yes. Once they experience they're like, wow, you mean I'm the impediment?
Yeah.
Sure. If you weren't the impediment, then what would you do? then they're like, wow. Then they have something to shoot at. They can actually see it and articulate it. And they don't go, well, I'd like to do that, but that's what I want.
Yeah.
Good, let's go there.
Interesting. A friend of mine recommended a book not long ago. I've not read it because I'm afraid the book won't be as good as the title of the book. The title of the book is The Obstacle is the Way. And I'm like, I don't want to read it because I love the implications of the title and I don't want to be disappointed by the book. What you're saying is the obstacle might be the individual, him or herself.
That is the primary obstacle. Obviously, the world is going to give you obstacles that are legit. But if you can't beat the internal battle, then once you get to the obstacle, you've already talked yourself out of it.
This is a process, I suspect, Thom, where you see grown men as they realize perhaps the impediments they've put in front of them, as they realize opportunities lost in the past with business opportunities or with family. And when they realize what's possible for the second chapter in their life, I would suspect you see a range of emotions from your students.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That is the third block of training is a training called learning how to use emotions. Like they're very applicable. Emotions are wonderful tools. And gosh, so many people, men are like void. Women have access to it, but then they get used by it. So it's a great aspect to teach people to use emotions like they're tools, because that's what they're for. You're not supposed to feel happy when you're sad.
Yeah.
So sometimes what emotion is the necessary emotion right now that would be helpful? Like what's the spice to add to this, bland situation that would be of benefit, as opposed to, being sad when it's not appropriate, or being excited 10 hours too early. And then you burn all that energy because the emotional outlay was premature.
Yeah.
And so getting people to learn how to not be used by emotions, but actually turn them on and turn them off at will. That's a critical bit of success factors.
Fascinating. When we come back from break, Thom, when we were together last week, you posed this question to me, maybe when you and I were offline, and it was, you asked the question, what is preventing you from being the most perfect version of yourself? And you have asked this to people all over through your workshops, through your classes and training. And I'm very interested in if there's a consistent answer that you've heard over the years from people answering the question, here's what's preventing me from being the best version of myself. And when we get back from break, let's hear the answer to that question. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. On the line with me is retired Navy SEAL Thom Shea. We'll be right back. Hi, I'm Cam Marston, host of What's Working. My Carrier Infinity system is quiet, energy efficient, and runs like a dream. To keep it running smoothly, I rely on a maintenance plan from Keith Air Conditioning. With a Keith maintenance plan, your home or business receives discounts and 24/7 priority service. Give Keith Air Conditioning a call today at 251-476-3610 or visit keithair.com. Keith and Carrier. Turn to the experts.
Think about your home. What do you see? Do you just see two stories, or the stories of your toddler's first steps? Now think about your car. Do you see an odometer reading, or your kids reading in the back seat? Other insurance companies just see a house. They just see a car. But a State Farm agent sees what your home and your car really mean to you. So why not give them the protection they deserve?
You can reach me, State Farm agent Allison Horner, at AllisonHorner.com.
It's Cam again. Each Friday, my 3-minute commentaries called Keeping It Real are broadcast on Alabama Public Radio at 7:45 a.m. and 4:45 p.m. For 3 years, I've shared my thoughts and insights on the world and on life as I watch it go on around me. They've won a few statewide and national awards, and I really enjoy them. My goal for the commentaries? I simply want them to make you nod at something that you recognize or smile, or maybe chuckle to yourself. Our world faces a shortage of good intentions these days, and my Keeping It Real commentaries are my effort to help fill this void. Search for Keeping It Real with Cam Marston in your Facebook search bar or on your favorite podcast app, and I hope you enjoy them. Retired Navy SEAL Thom Shea served with the Navy for 23 years. He earned the Silver Star, the Bronze Star with Valor, Army Commendation with Valor, and his second Combat Action Medal. He was later hand-selected to serve as the officer in charge of the famed SEAL Sniper Course, which is, Tom, and this may not be appropriate for broadcast, but badass, man. That's some badass stuff right there. So prior to the break, you ask this question in your training programs: what prevents you from being the best version of yourself? And you've asked a lot of people this question. What is the most common answer you hear to that?
Drama. Drama prevents humans from being the best version of themselves. And what I mean by that, and everybody would have a different definition of that. I'm sure somebody that's an actor would hear that differently. People allow drama of, oh my gosh, you should have seen how bad it was, and I've been treated poorly. All the drama and like deboning the great meat that's on the table to the point where drama causes people to not be awesome. They would rather be an excuse than to actually be present and awesome.
Drama.
I don't know if that makes any sense. Drama.
Well, I think so. I think what you're saying is drama keeps people from being present in the moment, where they can use their entire self to pay attention to what needs to be addressed. Is that, am I even remotely correct?
That's the best way to say it. But what would show up to you if you were watching somebody is, hey, why are you not the best version of yourself? Which is how I lead out these seminars. That's the question. The question takes 4 hours to resolve. Like, everybody gets an opportunity to share, why are you not the best version of yourself? And what I always hear is drama. You don't understand. Things didn't work out, but this happened, blah, blah, blah. So drama shows up in the space of, why are you not the best version of yourself? And everybody has an answer for that. Very few people have an answer to what it takes to be the best version of themselves, but they have an answer as to why they're not. So drama, it's drama.
Drama. All right. I think I can relate to that. In fact, very recently, like moments ago, prior to me getting you on the phone, is the garage door broke on the hinges of everything else breaking around here these days, it seems. And I was caught up in the drama of a new $400 garage door motor that broke due to a small plastic piece inside it breaking. And it was dramatic. My reaction to that was dramatic. I was not the best version of myself. Is this what you're talking about?
Yeah. So, and instead of, there may not be the key way to interact with that, except for, okay, this happened. I got it. Maybe I made a mistake. Maybe the installer made the mistake. We'll survive this, and we'll just make it work. That's not drama. Nobody's to blame.
No one's just to blame.
And all of a sudden, you're moving. Yeah.
Moving forward to resolution versus victim. Yep. Does drama and victim have a lot to do with one another?
They're twins, and they arrive at the same time.
I have a twin. They show up. They both show up at the same time on a regular basis.
They come in, and it doesn't sound like, nobody thinks they're a victim. Nobody. I don't, when I was dramatic and when I had to try to excuse myself from something I did as a kid or even as a SEAL, you get caught doing something bad. Oh, hey, you don't understand. That's drama, as opposed to, yep, you got it.
Yeah. How about that? You know what?
I'm not a victim. Yep.
So, yeah, I hear some Eastern philosophies. I hear some kind of meditative philosophies in here, and living in the present and controlling your emotions and acknowledging your emotions, but not being controlled by them, and being able, and you said this in the previous segment, to call on the emotions as they're needed versus them calling on you and controlling you. Have you studied any part of that to apply to what you're teaching?
I have tried to study through kind of apprenticeships and masters, or meeting people that are at the top of their field, the various religions that I had pursued. The more I studied them, the more I realized they're all saying pretty much the same one, except some are kind of weird. But there's no distinct difference between meditation and prayer.
No, agree. You're right.
It's one that would be applied differently with, different, sounds and mantras and hoo-ha and this and that and the other. But the context of prayer and meditation is the same. And yet I am a firm believer that if you got to experience everything to have a better rendition of what truly is possible. And so the answer is, yeah, I looked at deeply into a lot of, Buddhist and Zen and some Hindu and some other different religious teachings across the planet.
Yeah, I hear it a little bit coming out in some of the things that you're teaching. If I were to see somebody on day one going into your course, they know that you've said some things that's caused a quickening inside of them. You've touched them in a way that they say, gosh, he's talking about me. He's talking to me here. And on day one, they walk into your course or they sit down in front of the computer, however you're addressing them these days. What would be the change I see 1 year later?
Why don't we do things in person? I'm not a firm believer that virtual is the way to have sustainable improvement. It's a way to keep things above water without drowning, but a virtual life is a virtual life. And then I have to go out into the world. So I don't see that as the greatest thing that I could do. So after a year, what you would see is committed resolve. You will see somebody that is in training or completed training as somebody who's very resolved, both emotionally resolved, experientially resolved, and also committed to listen, committed to execute, committed to participate, committed to lead, and it's demonstrative.
The image in my head that you've described is somebody with a very stern face and with a very forceful walk, a forceful gait. But my suspicion, my suspicion is there's
that's not what it is.
Well, my suspicion is there's a great happiness that comes with this.
Maybe the word is right. Most people say that there's a lightness.
Yes, there we go.
There's an element of lightness, but urgency, as opposed to, oh my God, it's going to suck, but I know how to do this. I have the misery that comes with most, being in charge and being responsible. That could be a burden. I don't try to teach it as a burden, and I don't think of it as a burden. When I hear commitment, to me, that's electrifying. I love people who are committed. And they're normally happy. Like people who are committed all in don't have, I don't like this. So they're always excited and energetic, and they are urgent, and they just listen, and they're so intent when something is on their plate. I wouldn't say it's anger or, frown and walking into a storm, not wanting to be there. It's the opposite. It's a lightness and the ability to want to be there and encourage themselves to do that level of life.
Yeah, I hear the description and I can hear a lightness coming out of people as they realize potential and commitment and all in. And I can see it can be, just like we've said, really transformative. Was there any indication, Thom, as you were going through this training in the SEALs and as you were spending your time with them for 23 years, that this is where your path would go? Did you have
not on planet, not even close. I was going to, either die in the teams or go so long that they had to pull me out.
Yeah.
And in 2009, I had been a platoon chief in Afghanistan, and to me, it was like the Super Bowl. And when I came back from the Super Bowl, I'm like, you know what? I think that's it.
Yeah.
And I kind of lost the wow factor. But I had no idea. Hey, I'm going to get into executive coaching.
Right.
Yeah, I probably could spell it at that time. And I had no desire to write a book. I had written notes to my kids and wife because every time I went out on a combat mission, I really thought that was going to be the last one. So I wrote 13 lessons for my kids that made the Unbreakable book.
And when you say that would be the last one, you mean I wouldn't come home from this last one?
Yeah. So it was a really dangerous op tempo. We did 58 combat missions. And we ran out of food, water, and ammo on every mission.
Yeah.
After the first one, I'm like, honey, this is legit. And I said, hey, the fishing, I couldn't say anything over the net. I'm like, hey, fishing here is very dangerous. And I want you and the kids to know that I may not always come back from each fishing expedition that we go on.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of listening that happens over the net, And she goes, well, could you tell us about your life?
Oh.
And so I'm like, yeah, I'll write down something that I'm going through right now that's specific to what I feel and what I think about and what I think the kids will gain from it. And then there were and I compiled those into the 13 lessons of the book. But when I was in, I had no desire to make it a book. Stacy published it without my permission and made a book out of it. I thought I was just going to get out and do contract work and be, an overseas security guy.
Yeah. Now there's a woman with confidence and resolve and dedication and commitment. When she publishes her husband's book without his permission, she sees the end goal. You didn't, but she did. Good for her.
Well, you ever hear that everybody wants a strong woman?
Yeah.
Until they have one. I'm like, oh my gosh,
yeah.
Honey, give me a break. She's like, this is what we're going to do. She saw it before I did.
Yeah.
And she goes, this is what I want us to have, this kind of lifestyle. And I want you to do this. I'm like, Ma, I don't like to do that. She goes, I don't care. You're going to do that.
Yeah. 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 Well, I liked meeting her too. She was impressive. She was really impressive. Thom, how can people find you if they want more information on your courses, your books, whatever it may be?
We have a really good center point called unbreakableleadership.com. And I think we're on social media under the same or under my name, ThomShea. But unbreakableleadership.com is where we interact with most people.
His book is Unbreakable, A Navy SEAL's Way of Life. The second book, 3 Simple Things, Leading During Chaos. I've met this man, folks. He's legit, and he offers good stuff to the people that pay attention to him. Thom, thank you so much for your willingness to help us out today.
Thank you, Cam, and thanks, everybody, for listening.
I'll be back after this break with final comments. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston.
A cool thing happened back in '64. That's when Keith Air Conditioning opened their doors. And ever since then, they've earned your family's trust, fixing your AC when it bites the dust. So call Keith Air Conditioning, they're number one. Keith Air Conditioning, they get it done. Award-winning service, done with pride. With Keith, you're gonna sleep in comfort tonight.
3 generations and 2 names you can count on, Keith and Carrier. Hi, this is Brent Keith. Turn to the experts is not just a tagline in my family, it's a promise. Every technician is an experienced air conditioning professional. Their money-saving experience and expertise diagnoses your problem accurately and efficiently. Speaking of money, we're offering $25 off our introductory price for a total comfort maintenance plan. And ask about our specials on new Carrier systems. Keith and Carrier, the experts you turn to.
Mobile's leading name in comfort since 1964.
License number 83731.
Here's what I heard. First, that we essentially get in our own way. We ask what's possible, and that question has haunted me for years. Cam, what's possible? What's possible for you? And I have tried to get myself, frankly, to stop asking that question because it leads me down a rabbit hole of, am I leaving talent untapped? Am I leaving opportunity within myself unrealized? And I decided to stop asking myself this question. Well, Thom has suggested in this conversation, as well as what I heard from him last week at that conference, is that once we become aware of our potential, then the question of what's possible no longer is a haunting question that keeps you up at night wondering if you've left talent on the bench of your own bench, if you've left opportunity behind, and suddenly you begin to see things differently. I also love his comment that drama prevents us from being the best version of ourselves. And goodness knows I'm a victim of this on a regular basis, that when I can recognize the drama, and it's mostly between my own ears, suddenly opportunity begins to blossom. As Thom said, though, it takes a year to become groomed this way. Fantastic. Grateful to Thom for his time today. That wraps us up for this week. If you like the show, you can find it as a podcast. Send it on to your friends. John Thompson is the show's producer. He's with Eye on Digital. Tune in again next week, folks. We'll have a good show. Have a good week, everyone.